You're listening to Boobies and Newbies, brought to you by the Frolic Podcast Network. Happy holidays, everybody, and welcome to a special holiday edition of Boobies and Newbies, the podcast that asks novice romance readers to think outside the dick in a box and brave the unbridled world of erotica. I'm your host, Kelly Reynolds, and today's romance review marks the first episode in Boobies and Newbies' fourth annual holiday special, The 12 Days of Boobsmas. If you are new to this podcast or the wonderful world of reading romance, boy, are you in for a treat. Because all December long, we're talking holiday hookups, festive lighting displays, and of course, a Christmas cat or two. That's right, 12 holiday-themed romances, 12 mini podcasts, and 12 giveaways coming your way in the month of December. So be sure to keep up with us across our social media channels for all of the upcoming giveaway news and opportunities. And if you feel like sharing a little extra holiday cheer this winter season, please consider leaving this ho-ho-ho a review on Amazon and supporting the podcast on Patreon. You will find links to all of our social medias in the show notes for this episode, and as always, you can find them along with our full catalog of episodes, book recommendations, and so much more on boobiesandnewbies.com. I am so excited to kick off this special. I look forward to this all year long, and I'm extra jazzed for today's guest because she too knows a little something about holiday romances. Joining me today for the first day of this Boobsmas extravaganza is co-host of All the Feels, an unauthorized Hallmark movie podcast. It's the lovely Dory.
Hello. I am honored to be here. So excited.
I am honored to have you, especially, I mean, I will tell everybody, it is clearly not December as we were recording this episode. The episode drops December 1st to start the month off right. However, thanks to the magic of, podcast editing and recording ahead of time, here we are just looking at the end of Halloween and coming into November, but the world of Hallmark and Lifetime and TV Christmas movies is already whirring and ready to go, as you know, because I am also a Lifetime, Hallmark, all of the above. Well, honestly, any kind of holiday movie. It can be new, old, whatever. Huge fan of the movies. So as a holiday movie expert yourself,
Expert.
I mean, it's
I love
all
it.
in the podcast title, right?
Yes.
I want to know about what's coming up on All the Feels because I know about the holiday movie bracket and I think everybody else needs to too.
On All the Feels, Christmas starts before Halloween. So I was definitely eating candy corn on Halloween while watching Christmas movies. And it was
Blasphemy.
I know. That's how I roll. And that's how Hallmark rolls because they start their Christmas movies. It keeps getting earlier and earlier. And at this point, it starts like the weekend before Halloween.
Are they like anti-Halloween? Like, where are the Halloween romance movies? That's what I want to know.
I don't appreciate that they do this because while I do love Christmas, I do think we can wait a few weekends. I think we can at least push it till November.
Yeah.
And one of my all-time favorite Hallmark movies is a Halloween movie. It's a freaking Halloween movie. It's one of the only ones that they've done. It's called October Kiss with Ashley Williams, and it is delightful. Everyone should watch it.
I love Ashley Williams too. I feel like when you, whether or not you watch Hallmark movies, Lifetime movies, any sort of TV movies, I feel like you find the actors and actresses that you really like gravitate towards where you're like, ooh, I don't even care what this one is about, but give me Danica McKellar any day of the week and I'll be there.
Totally. You find your favorites and you're like, I'm going to watch everything this person is in. Every single thing. And so, you know, we are we are fully in the holiday spirit over there. We've already had 2 episodes of Christmas movies, and we have barely hit November. We do a bracket every year where we pit Hallmark and Lifetime movies against each other to see which network is going to come out on top with the best movie. It is so much fun. We usually do an episode where we pick which movies are going to end up on the bracket, which is a delight. And it's fun because people get to play along with us, and they'll tweet us and message us what they thought should win if we pick something different. And it's always a great time. And it's a really great way, I think, as anyone who kind of watches these movies knows, there are so many new ones every year.
Right.
And the bracket is a great way to kind of contain it, because if we wanted to cover all of these movies, our heads would explode.
Yeah.
So,
it's kind of the same reason I love whenever different book bloggers are putting out like reading challenges with like bingo cards, or, you know, something where it's like you can challenge yourself, but also you know that you're not going to be able to read everything. You know that you're not going to be able to watch every movie, and that's okay. I mean, if you can, I feel like you have a lot of time on your hands, and I'm jealous. So kudos to you. But if you can't, it's a nice way to kind of pick and choose, like, okay, I really want to watch, you know, these 2 movies that they're talking about on all the feels, or I really want to read a romance that ticks off, you know, a book cover that's orange. Like it narrows it down for you to choose, because some of us are terrible at making choices.
Completely agree. It's also just a fun way. It's a fun twist to this time, because I feel like so many people watch these movies, and there's this whole community of people who love them so much. So it's nice to kind of have a game involved, because you all speak the same language.
Right.
We have a ton of people who like have done the bracket with us, and then they're completely like Hallmark hooked after that, you know? It's so
people
fun.
love a bracket. Like, people honestly,
a
bracket goes a long way. Like, people who have listened to this podcast for a while know that I'm a huge fan of the Snack It, which is a bracket full of snacks that usually comes out 2 or 3 times a year. Huge fan. I'm also I happen to love the show The Masked Singer, like not even in like a silly way. Like, I genuinely love the show The Masked Singer. And a couple of my girlfriends and we started our own Masked Singer fantasy draft of sorts.
That is amazing.
That's the bracket that we love to do. But I think you're right. I think it's a great way to bring people together, you know, whether or not you're already a part of the community, and, you know, meet some new people who happen to love the same things that you love.
It's the best. I mean, I have to say, especially last year, kind of in the in the trenches of the pandemic, it felt so good to have something to look forward to. And I was kind of nervous for the holidays. I knew I probably wasn't going to be seeing my family because I live away from them. And this gave me something to look forward to. It gave me something to do every week and focus on. And it was so fun. And I think a lot of people felt that way, especially last year. And I mean, it's just, we have the best little community over there. So everyone come check us out if you're into these movies. We have the most fun.
I love it. Well, okay. And so I feel like the 2 important follow-up questions I have about this, first are, what usually wins between Hallmark and Lifetime? Like, in your experience with the bracket, what usually comes up on top?
Well, for years, because we've been doing this for 5 years now, which is very weird now that I say it out loud. For the first few years, it was just Hallmark, because Lifetime used to do Christmas movies a ton, but then they really fell off, and they didn't really bring on any new Christmas movies until about 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. They were just
doing Murder for like the longest time.
It was Murder forever. And then they thought to themselves, you know what? We're getting back in the Christmas game. And you know what? I am just ecstatic that they did, because they shook up the bracket. And so for the past couple years, we've done Hallmark versus Lifetime. And I think 1 year Hallmark won, 1 year Lifetime won. And then this is the third year of doing Hallmark versus Lifetime.
Ooh.
So we will see.
It's the tiebreaker year.
It's the tiebreaker year. This is huge. And I have to say, we were pleasantly surprised last season because Hallmark and Lifetime both had great movies that premiered, and it was actually really hard to pick a winner. Like, we had a lot. Some years it's like, listen, there are clear there are clear standouts, okay?
I've seen them. I know.
You get it. There are clear winners and losers.
Yes.
But last year was tough. It was tough.
Yeah.
So it's shaping up to be a fun year.
So, okay, and then my second follow-up, I know you mentioned October Kiss, but seeing as we're talking specifically about the holidays, I'd love to know, is there like an all-time favorite TV holiday movie pick of yours?
I'm going to give a few because
I have two as well. So I want to hear what yours are.
Okay, good. My absolute favorites are, the first is a Hallmark movie. It's called The Christmas Ornament with Kelly Martin. It is so good. It is about a widow who lost her husband, and she's kind of learning to embrace the holidays again. And of course, she meets a very tall, handsome gentleman who runs a Christmas tree lot. And they,
well, sure.
I mean, of course. And they fall in love. That is my favorite. I watch it throughout the year. It is so good. I think that is one favorite. And then the other favorite is a movie called Trading Christmas, which is another Hallmark movie, and it's a house swapping movie. So it kind of has the holiday vibes. Faith Ford is in it. Tom Cavanaugh is in it. It is just
there you go.
so delightful and different than any Hallmark movie that they've ever done. So those are my two faves, but I'm dying to hear yours.
Okay, well, get ready. Let's see. I've got my notes. So first one, it is a 2008 Hallmark Christmas movie called The Most Wonderful Time of the Year. And this one is starring, I don't know if I've seen this guy in anything else. His name's Warren Christie.
Okay.
But then Brooke Burns is the female lead, and I feel like she does a bunch of stuff. And Henry Winkler, the Fonz from Happy Days, plays like the quirky uncle. But it's very cute. She's a single mom, and her uncle is coming to visit her for the holidays, and he meets like this world traveling nomad guy on the plane who basically like gets stranded at the airport. And so he invites him to come over for Christmas. And of course is like playing matchmaker between the two of them. And this dude, by the way, is like smoking hot. I was like, this is like one of the hottest men that has ever graced Hallmark with their presence. So it's a cute one. And then the other one, I wouldn't necessarily say this is like a great Hallmark Christmas movie, but I find it very enjoyable because I happen to love Brennan Elliott. He's like one of my favorite guys that does Hallmark movies. He also, by the way, if anybody ever watched the TV show Unreal, which is like, I've mentioned on the podcast because I used to work in reality TV, and it's about the behind the scenes of a reality TV. And on that show, he plays like the host right? Yeah. Of the show. And he just does such a great job at being like that cheesy, smarmy guy that's hitting on all the contestants. Like, it's so good. And I'm like, to go from that to doing like Hallmark Christmas movies, what a gem. But the crowning achievement of this movie would have to be Mariah Carey.
Oh my
So
goodness.
it's called,
one.
yes, A Christmas Melody. And even though Mariah Carey is also there, it's very much about the romance between Brennan Elliott and Lacey Chabert, aka Gretchen Wieners. And it's a really cute kind of second chance. Actually, not even like a second chance romance. It's like a missed connections romance because they went to high school together and he was like the band nerd that like she never noticed, and now he's teaching her daughter at like their school that they grew up at, and it's really cute. Like, it's Mariah Carey is very misplaced. I think she's only there because like they use one of her songs in the movie, but she's there. I mean, it's fine. Whatever. It's Mariah Carey.
I would encourage everyone to watch that movie because it is like you're watching two different movies. There's the movie that Mariah there's the
Mariah
movie that
is
Mariah
starring
is
in one. And then the other one is Lacey and Brennan.
Yep. Then the other one is the romance. And it's like even the lighting changes. Like the lighting on Queen Mimi, I adore her. No hate. Her lighting, it's like she brought in her own lighting crew to light her.
Oh, I'm sure she did. I have zero doubts.
She had to. Every shot of her is like her good side. It's pristine. Yep. So I feel like she got her lighting crew and they gave everyone else a separate lighting crew, and it is hilarious to watch.
We're supposed to believe that Mariah Carey and Lacey Chabert like went to high school together, and I'm pretty confident Mariah Carey's got like a solid like decade on Lacey Chabert, and I'm just like, wait, are we you went to school together, like in the same grade? I'm having so many issues with this.
It's very hard to take your brain to that place where you believe that they were students together at the same time. But it's still so much fun, and it's just a trip because it's such a spectacle, right? Because they have Mariah Carey, so it is a spectacle. She is like, it's just a delight.
She doesn't sing, so I think that'll be both disappointing for some people and also like very exciting for others who are like, okay, thank goodness. There's a little girl though who does sing what I feel like is a not really appropriate song for children, but it's a Mariah Carey song, so it's like fine. She probably got producer credit for this movie. Whatever.
I think she absolutely did.
Would not shock me. I think that's why she's in the movie. Is like my song, my movie.
I'm pretty sure when it came out, that's how they billed it. Like, produced by Mariah Carey.
Who's also there.
In a separate movie. It is like watching two different movies, and it is so funny.
Very entertaining. And like I said, Brennan Elliott, though, he's like one of the funnier guys that does Hallmark movies. Like, it's like a funny, charming kind of thing. And so that's what I like about him. Yeah, those are my two.
Those are great picks. Co-sign the Brennan Elliott love.
Thank you. Well, along with watching, obviously, an obscene amount of holiday movies, I would love to know a little bit about what you do to celebrate the holidays, because I am a huge fan of just the holiday season in general. I love to decorate. I'm one of those awful people that decorates in like early November. I love to buy presents for people. And, I wanted the 12 Days of Boobsmas to be just as much a time about discussing and celebrating traditions and memories as it is about discussing our favorite holiday romance reads. So what do the holidays look like for you, Dory?
Well, I, like you, am an early decorator. And this came before the Hallmark love. Like in my family, November meant Christmas. At that point, it's Christmas, game on. So I'm an early decorator. I love having a tree. I need to have a tree. I've always had one. Like when I moved away from home, when I was old enough, I would always get, even if I had a teeny tiny studio apartment, I would get one of those little tabletop trees. Something. I needed them. I am a color lights girl over white lights. FYI. Yeah,
Ooh, that's a hot discussion topic
I
for
know.
sure.
And I feel like it's kind of controversial these days, but I like
Yeah.
colored lights. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I was raised on colored lights, like, and when I go home for the holidays, we do colored lights on the tree. We do colored outside lights, like on
Mhm.
like the garage. But I will say, in my own
Mhm.
home, I usually do use white lights, and I think it's just because it goes better. I and
It
I
is You're not wrong. Here's the thing. You're not wrong. Like white lights aesthetically make more sense. They go with everything. You can decorate around them. You can use all different kinds
right.
of all different colored decorations because you have that base of the white lights.
You can use them throughout the year.
That's right. I just feel like it is not Christmas unless I see some colored lights on the tree.
That's fair.
It might look a little haphazard and sloppy and crazy, and I love it. I
But
can't,
that's Christmas.
that's Christmas. That's Christmas.
If you have like a neat, tidy, perfectly organized Christmas, something's wrong.
Get out of
Like, I mean,
here.
and I am a type A personality that if I could schedule shit like that, I would, but it doesn't always work out that way.
No.
So why even try when you can have a colorful, messy, haphazard, delightfully, entertaining Christmas?
Exactly. That's what I want in my life. So yeah, the tree is big for me. I mean, one tradition that we had in my family that we have since kind of adjusted, but it always makes me laugh, is that my father loved A Christmas Carol, his favorite movie of all time. And as you know, there are about, I don't know, 100 versions of that movie.
Yeah. I was about to say, which one?
His favorite, I believe, was George C. Scott's version of Scrooge. But we would watch every version. Yes. It was insanity. Starting on Thanksgiving, we would watch every version. And it was pretty much every night. Every night we'd watch a new
Yeah, I mean,
version.
you have to, like, because it's like watching Hallmark or Lifetime movies. Like, there aren't enough days to be able to get through all of them.
It was insanity, and these were the days of VHS tapes, and so there would just be VHS tapes lined up of all these different Christmas carols, and we'd watch them. And my dad would sit there and watch the whole movie every time. For us, it was more he was watching, and people would wander in, watch a little bit, leave. People would come and watch their favorite movie. Their favorite version. Mine was Muppets Christmas Carol, still is.
Nice.
But I loved that. Like, looking back, it was just such a funny, fun, completely unique tradition to my dad, who loved Christmas. His birthday was December 9th, so he was Christmas crazy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and it's kind of funny because then it's like if anybody drops by your house, like anytime between Thanksgiving and Christmas, they know, like, oh, well, what are you going to do? Well, I mean, A Christmas Carol will be on. Like, I don't know which one, but it will be playing.
Oh, take a seat, watch a few minutes, and then go on about your business. Like, it's playing. It would be playing while we decorated the tree. I mean,
yeah.
It just, and still, now that I live on my own, I do not keep that tradition. But I do watch a few, and it just makes me feel happy. I mean, there's nothing more to me. There's nothing that says Christmas more, like, above Hallmark movies, above everything else. There's nothing that says like Christmas in the holiday season more than A Christmas Carol. There just isn't.
Yeah, that's one of those ones where I usually catch at least one version of it every year. Like I maybe two, maybe three, maybe 20. But no. And I've seen it on stage as a play. I'm actually, at the time that we're recording this, I'm heading to Philly and New York for a week later in November, and I'm planning to actually go see this new production they're doing for the holidays called A Sherlock Christmas Carol, and it's like a combination of Sherlock Holmes mysteries and Christmas Carol.
What?
So I'll have to let you know. I'll have to let you know how it goes.
I need to know everything as soon as you see this.
Okay, we'll do.
Oh my God. I'm like, my head is just spinning. I'm like, this sounds amazing.
Yes, I will give you the full report
Okay,
after I see it. It might be a musical. I'm not really
Wait
sure.
a minute.
It wasn't clear. I'm not super sure because it's not on Broadway. It's on off Broadway, and that could go either way. Like, I have no idea.
Just when I thought it couldn't get any better, you said musical.
They say.
Amazing.
Yeah, the only thing I know is that the basic premise is that Ebenezer Scrooge has died, and Tiny Tim goes to Sherlock to help him solve the mystery of who killed Scrooge. You're welcome.
Wow. So this surrounds Tiny Tim.
All grown up.
I'm speechless.
Yeah, no, it's good. I'll leave you with that, and we will I will of course report back after I see it, but I'm so glad that ties into your lifelong tradition of watching Christmas carols, because it's a good one. It's one that I think everybody should see. And I think everybody should see like the different versions of them, because they each have something to offer.
They do, and I think the overall message of it never really gets old. Like, that part is timeless, about treating each other well and living your life well. And I think we know, based on the past couple years more than ever, life is short, live it to its fullest. And I think that message resonates during Christmas, but also at any time, all the time.
Here's my question. Where is the erotic ghost holiday romance between like Scrooge and like the ghost of Christmas past? Like, I think I need that in my life. I need somebody to write that.
Where is the paranormal romance where these ghosts... there are so many potential ways to take that.
Choices.
There's so many choices. Especially that last ghost who looks like a monster. It looks like the freaking Grim Reaper. Make that a monster. Then you have a monster Christmas carol romance. I would read that in a heartbeat.
I would so read that. I read a Headless Horseman erotic novella this year. So if we can make the Headless Horseman sexy, we can absolutely make like the Ghost of Christmas Future sexy. That's for sure.
Please hear our cries. We need an erotic paranormal Christmas carol retelling. And we need it now.
It's our Christmas wish. I'm going to put that out into the world. Hopefully someone will manifest that into existence, and come December 2022, we will be here discussing it on the 12 Days of Boobsmas.
Right. I'm going to be looking for it all year.
You and me both. But until that happens, I guess it's time to talk about today's reading selection, since that is what we do here on this podcast. But today's reading is The Lights on Knockbridge Lane by Roan Parrish. And this is a male-male contemporary romance published in September 2021. It's available on Amazon for $4.99 Kindle edition. I was lucky enough to receive an early copy of this book along with a few of Roan's other books during a giveaway a few months back. So that's exciting. Also, this is the third book in Roan's Garnet Run series, all of which take place in the town of Garnet Run, Wyoming. However, it is very much a standalone holiday romance, so don't feel like you have to read the previous two books before reading The Lights on Knockbridge Lane. Had you read the other two books in the series before this one?
I had not, but I want to now.
I do too. In fact, I think Roan sent me at least one of them with this book as well. So maybe she sent both, and I can just go back and read the whole series, which would be wonderful. And then last thing I wanted to tell people is that today's giveaway winner will actually take home a copy of the book. So how do you become a giveaway winner, you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked, I tell myself. I'll be posting ways to win on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook between Thanksgiving and December 15th. Games, activities, questions, etc. All you have to do to enter to win is participate. And then every Friday leading up to Christmas, join me and a special bookish guest as we discuss, some more holiday romance recs, and we will announce a batch of giveaway winners live on Instagram. So by the time this episode is premiering on December 1st, that means that this Friday, December 3rd, I'll be announcing the first batch of giveaway winners, all of whom will take home a holiday romance, novella, or novel, plus some extra swag and goodies from me. So look out for those, keep on entering, and hopefully you'll get to take home something awesome. And that's all I have to say about that. So let me give everyone the brief synopsis from Goodreads.com for The Lights on Knockbridge Lane, and then we will dive into our chat. So here we go. Raising a family was always Adam Mills's dream, although solo parenting and moving back to tiny Garnet Run certainly were not. After a messy breakup, Adam is doing his best to give his young daughter the life she deserves, including accepting help from their new reclusive neighbor to fulfill her Christmas wish. Though the little house may not have the most lights ever, the Mills home begins to brighten as handsome Wes Mobray spends more time there and slowly sheds his protective layers. But when the eye-catching house ends up in the news, Wes has to make a choice: hide from the darkness of his unusual past or embrace the light of a future and a family with Adam.
Aww.
Yeah, that's pretty much The Lights on Knockbridge Lane in a nutshell. So synopses I feel like are always hit or miss with me, but I happen to enjoy that one. So that's good for me. But I'd love to know, I know you watch a lot of romance movies, because of Hallmark, Lifetime, etc. What's your experience when it comes to reading romance?
I am a huge romance reader.
Yay!
Yes, I am romance obsessed, I would say. I think that when I was younger, probably like high school, I read a lot of chick lit at the time. Those shopaholic books came out when I was in like middle school, high school. And yes. I think those were my first kind of taste of what romance could be and what was out there. I didn't know it at the time. I was just reading what I was reading. And then when I got older, I kind of stumbled into women's fiction. And I feel like this is the path of a ton of romance readers, right? Like I stumbled into women's fiction and then the next thing, and I was like, okay, this is close to what I want, but this isn't what I want.
It's the next step up the ladder.
Exactly.
Like you don't, and I know I look at this from like the publishing side of things too, when like people get upset with certain authors for publishing a book as like women's fiction as opposed to romance. And it's all about the label, so exactly. Okay, and then eventually you made it to the romance tier.
Yes. Then thankfully I made it to the romance tier, and I was like, this is what I've been looking for. This is what I've been wanting. And I have never looked back. I love romance. I actually have another podcast, a romance podcast called Y'all This Book, where I talk about romances with my friend Lisa. We record very sporadically, but it does exist. And I probably read about a book a week, I think, probably.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm right there with you. So, okay, first of all, I do want to, again, remind people this is a male-male romance, which I happen to love. What about you? Do you read a lot of like LGBTQ plus romances?
Yeah, for sure. Give me all the male-male romance. Give me all the queer romance. I want it all.
I love it.
Especially a Christmas book. Like, come on.
Yes, I know. And you know what? I feel like in the past couple years, I've definitely seen a large influx of holiday queer stories. And I will say, from my interview with Allison Cochran a few months ago, Allison's the author of The Charm Offensive, she did mention that she, along with a large group of authors, are putting together like a big group of queer holiday stories for 2022. So it's coming. Like, it's just, we have to wait a year to get there, but there's plenty to keep you occupied with your reading until then. So just know that there's a lot more coming, and it's finally making its way into mainstream publishing.
Right.
I think that's the big difference too, because the other thing I wanted to mention to people is that this is, I think this is how it was publicized, is the very first queer holiday romance published by Harlequin.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really exciting. I mean, it makes you wonder, like, I don't know why we had to wait this long. It's the same question I ask myself every time I watch a Hallmark movie and we don't have queer characters.
Amen.
But that being said, I am happy it's here. I think it's also a great romance to start with if you haven't read a queer romance. I think it's a wonderful way to dive in for all of the newbies who are looking for a holiday romance to check out or a queer romance to check out. It's the best of both worlds. You've also got a single dad. Like, it's a lot of the tropes I really love in one book. So that made me happy.
I couldn't agree more. You hit the nail on the head, and this is the perfect place to start. If you've never read a queer romance and you're interested, like, this is a great book to start. It gives you just all the feels, all the holiday joy. It's got, like you said, so many good tropes that we love. The single dad, we've got some grumpy sunshine action.
Yes.
Moving back to the small town that he grew up in. All of those things that you might love about, say, a Hallmark movie are in this book, which I appreciated.
Yeah, just with more diversity.
A lot more diversity. Thank God for that.
Yeah, because that's actually one of the things I was thinking about as I was reading it was, we meet Adam early on, and it's Adam and his daughter August, although they call her Gus, which I thought was really cute.
I love that.
I thought that was so cute. And they move back to Wyoming because he's recently gotten divorced from his husband. So first thing I was thinking about was, wow, we don't usually get to see divorced couples as same-sex couples as divorced couples. Like, that's not something that I know I see in media or in books in general. So love that. Then we have them moving to Wyoming, his small town, hometown. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not a queer person. However, I don't know if I would feel comfortable living in Wyoming in general. No shade to anybody who lives in Wyoming. Just, you know what it is. And we have this town where there's so many people who are also coupled up in same-sex relationships. We meet, I think, is their name River? Adam's sibling, who's non-binary, and uses they, them pronouns, which I am really enjoying seeing more books use. I know that it's still not, we don't see they, them being used as much as like he, him, she, her. However, I do like that we are normalizing it in the books that we're reading and writing. So loved that. It made you feel a little bit better about when reality creeps in and you think about the reality of openly queer people living in what is predominantly a conservative red state, let alone a small town that they felt the need to escape when they were younger. You become a little nervous, and Roan makes you feel a lot better very quickly when you meet all these characters who are so accepting, so supportive. And if I didn't have that, it would have been a tougher read for me to like be able to turn my brain off and read it. So I'm glad that from the very beginning, we were set up with like this accepting community of people.
Yes, I completely agree. I loved the community aspect of this. Adam's co-workers are so supportive. You know, the neighborhood seems so supportive. And it just,
Yeah.
there was something so lovely about this small town that has all the trappings of a small town. Everyone's in each other's business. The neighbors are nosy, and we have all of that kind of the traditional quote unquote way that you would see a small town, but then there's this beautiful, diverse, inclusive community within that
Yeah.
that was really beautiful to read. I love that River's character was non-binary. Like you, I have not read that in many books, and
Mm-mm.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought it was beautiful and organic, and just, it made me so happy.
And even more so, it wasn't like a discussion of
Exactly.
we have to discuss why these are River's pronouns. We have to discuss what this means. I mean, that's what I love when I read a story like this, is
Same.
like, this is just the world people exist in. People are just people, because guess what? That's also the world we live in reality. So why
Right.
should we have to have these conversations every time you meet somebody new?
Right.
And so I loved that it was just the normal way of life that these people were living, being exactly like their authentic selves, period.
Right. It was never a conversation piece. Whenever Adam was introducing River, it was, this is my sibling.
Mm-hmm.
They watch Gus every night before I get home from work.
Yeah.
No discussion, no qualifiers. And I really appreciated that. And there was no questioning from the people who met River, you know?
No.
Those people just said, "Oh, great, nice to meet you."
Yeah.
Easy, the way it should be, the way it should be ideally.
I'm also curious if there are going to be more books in this series, because we're like, at the very end, it's alluded to that like River's having like a sort of relation, we'll call it a situationship with somebody, but we don't know who. And the other person that had me wondering about them was the guy that sells them the Christmas tree.
Me
because
too.
He's like new to the area. And I was like, I feel like we're making a big deal out of this man selling this Christmas tree, and like, he doesn't know the town, but like, he purposefully asks for the name of it again. I'm like, oh my God, I hope you're the person hooking up with River, and that would make me so happy. But if you're not, also, I want to read whatever's going on with you.
I want to know what's going on with you. I want to know what's going on with Wes's friend, who he only talks to via chat. I want to know what his story is. He seems so funny. Build them out. I want stories for all of these people. Build out the world. But I'm with you. The Christmas tree scene, I was sitting there and I was like, okay, so this is a scene. This is like a full scene. He's having a conversation with this man. What? Why? Because it's towards the end of the book. And I'm like, please don't let him like hit on Adam or do something weird. Like, I need this to just be chill. And it was. But I did feel, I was like, why are we spending
like,
so much time with this gentleman? Yeah.
Who are you? Should we know who you are? I was like, is he gonna like secretly be like a nosy reporter who's like trying to report on, you know, their lit up house? And I'll talk about the lights in a second. We'll get there. But yeah, no, I don't know. So I have to believe that, you know, and knowing that I've read Roan's work before, and I feel like this is how I felt about this book too, is it seems like there were so many things that tied in together, like so many intentional choices that like maybe didn't even seem super intentional at the time, that would then come back later in the story and I'd be like, oh, that's great. So I'd like to hope that maybe eventually we will see a story for both River and mysterious tree seller man. If it's whether or not it's the same story or two separate ones, but here's hoping.
I hope so. I hope that next year we're getting a Christmas story about them, because I loved, because towards the end, like you mentioned, River is kind of flustered when they're talking about their relationship status and saying, well, yeah, maybe there might be there might be somebody. Exactly. So I want to know more, and I wanted to know more about River just during the story. We got a lot of River. watching Gus and
Yeah.
interacting with Adam. We don't know a whole lot about what it was like for them growing up. And I'd like to know more from River's perspective about
Yeah.
their relationship with their family and their childhood, because Adam didn't have such a great childhood and experience during
And
childhood.
there's such an age difference
Right.
between the two of them. Like River's only
Right.
20 and Adam, I don't think they specify Adam's age, but Adam has, gone on and been married
Mhm.
and raised, his daughter and she's now 10. So he's definitely
Right.
older.
Yeah, I want to know more about that family. And
Yeah.
there were a lot of little, breadcrumbs throughout that I would love to see
Right.
turn into perhaps another holiday romance.
A whole loaf
A
of
whole
bread,
loaf.
not crumbs, a whole loaf. I have to mention the lights because the whole the whole story behind this story is that when Adam and his husband get divorced and he and August move back to his hometown because it's more affordable, he has access to River, who can, help take care of Gus when Adam's working. He asks her, like, well, what do you want for Christmas? And he wants to make this Christmas extra special for her, which I assume anybody who's like a child of divorce probably can remember, like the first Christmas that like they didn't have both parents together. Like I'm sure there's something memorable about that, whether it's like a good memory or a bad memory. And so he wants to make it a good memory for Gus. And she says, I want the most lights ever on our house. And so as the story goes on and he's raking in more and more Christmas lights that people are sending him and donating to him from his posts on Instagram, they do mention a few times that, well, no way will this house have like the most Christmas lights, because the most Christmas lights it's like an ungodly amount of, it's 600,000 plus lights. And the family who did that was the gay family. And I kept thinking, oh, haha, that's so funny. Is it because he's gay? How ironic, LOL. But I had to Google it because I needed to know. I needed to know, one, if this was a fact, and two, like what, if it wasn't, like who has the record for the most Christmas lights. And I am happy to report that this is 100% a fact that Roan Parrish put into the book. The gay family from, I think it's LaGrangeville, New York, they earned the title for most lights on a residential property in 2014 with 601,736 lights. So
Wow.
they still hold the record. It's been 7 years. They've still got the record.
Wow.
So that's a lot.
I can't even fathom that number of Christmas lights.
I know. There's pictures.
Wow.
There are pictures and videos. And I watch the Great Christmas Light Fight every year when it's on TV because I find it so fascinating that people put that much into it. And I don't know if they've been featured. I would assume that they've been on the show if they have a world record for the most amount of lights. Like, just give them the trophy.
Right. Just do a full hour on them. I want to know how they put up that many lights, how many people it takes, how much electricity they use.
Okay. Well, I have a few
You have fun facts?
few details for you, a few answers for your questions, not all of them, but they've been doing this since, I think they said the dad, Mr. Gay, orchestrates this whole affair, and he started it when his daughter was born, and she is now like, okay, this is going to sound like a wide age gap because I don't remember what I looked up, but she's between 24 and 29. Okay. So she's in her 20s. They've been doing this for 20 plus years. They, now use over 600,000 lights. He says they started with like 100 lights. The lights are choreographed to over 250 songs. And the thing that they're really proud of is that they actually raise a lot of money that they donate to charity. So I don't know if that they're charging people to like come see them or if it's all donation based. But as of December 2019, they've raised over $360,000 for charity.
Wow.
Yeah. And surprisingly, my mind went to the electric bill thing too. I was like, this must cost like an arm and a leg. According to the gay family, their bill is like less than $400 because they use almost all LED lights. So it's not using the juice.
I'm shocked.
Isn't that insane?
$400 is not near to what I was expecting.
No. That's like some people pay that much for heating their houses during the holidays when it's, super cold and snowy.
Okay, gay family.
They don't have 600,000 lights up.
Okay, LED lights. Okay. I love it.
So there are your fun facts for the episode about the Guinness World Record holding family of putting up lights on their house.
Well, I love that they're real and that Roan Parrish looked up this fact and put it in the book, because it does make for a funny scene when Gus says that the gay family has the world record and she says, like you, daddy.
Like you. I also love, I will say, I feel like in not just romance novels, but in books, movies, TV shows in general, kids can come across as very precocious, like very easily. So often I'll read a book where like the kid just knows everything, like, and you're just like, oh my God, you're 12, shut up. And so I will say I did not hate Gus. And I think it's a combination of the fact that she didn't act like she knew everything. In fact, she was always asking questions. She wanted to know more. And also that she was so protective of her family. Like she is so protective of her dad that, when Wes asks if her dad's gay, her response is, you got a problem with that? I'm just like, oh my God, are you going to beat on this like beast of a man that lives across the street? And she yells at some people who come by to see the house because Adam starts to cry because he gets very emotional very easily, and she thinks that they're being mean to him. Like, this is a 10-year-old girl who, if you are part of like her clan, she will take anybody else down if they hurt her family and the people closest to her.
She is a fierce little girl.
Yeah.
I know that kids and romances are controversial, and I get it. Okay? I get it. I really loved her. I love that she is a little girl super into science. I thought that was so cool. She was so brave. I loved that scene where she yells at Wes because she thinks, Wes is just asking if her dad is gay because he's into her dad. Yeah. But she doesn't know that. And and she's like, you better not be mean to him. Now that you know, you better not be mean to him. But I really enjoyed her. I really liked that I really loved her relationship with Adam and the way that they communicated with each other. I thought that was pretty amazing because she wasn't perfect and she made mistakes, and they would talk it out, and he would explain to her why some of the things she said.
No punishing. It was just very much like, in fact, it's really beautiful. I marked 2 different places in the book where they have these conversations, and the whole time they're having the conversation, you're like, this could just as easily be a conversation about so many other things, specifically related to like how we treat people differently, like based on, for instance, their sexuality, their beliefs, and there's one time when she's at school and she tells kids that Santa isn't real, and because they start to argue with her and she's a scientist, she lays out the facts. And Adam tells her like, look, it's okay, I know you want to be honest, and like we're being honest with each other, but I also don't want you forcing your beliefs down anybody's throats. Like that is not your place to do that. And I'm like, oh my God, well, we can apply that to a lot of other things for sure, not just Santa. So there's so many conversations that they have, and this is between a man and his 10-year-old daughter
Uh-huh.
that I think grown-ass adults have problems having conversations about. So, yeah, their relationship dynamic was fantastic.
And their conversation about judgment and not judging people and
Yes.
why that's wrong.
Ugh.
I was sitting there like, this is a grown conversation, you know? Like I know some adults who need to sit and have that conversation with
Yeah.
themselves. I loved their relationship. I thought it was great. And I thought that her relationship with Wes, her blossoming relationship with
Also
Wes was
great.
also great, you know? Like they just connected and she was fearless. She was just
Yeah.
fearless. And I think that he needed that, you know, he needed someone to kind of break his walls down.
Yeah.
And this girl did it. She literally broke into his home and into his heart.
It's so true. Well, and this is I say it on the podcast all the time. I always want to see characters having I want to see characters having insecurities. I want to see characters being vulnerable. And so often we attribute that to female characters specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And so to have two male characters in one book where they both clearly have insecurities and have difficulties being vulnerable with each other. Also being vulnerable with August, that I really loved. And I think especially with Wes's character, because he has a really interesting story. This whole idea of like, he's this big, gorgeous guy and he's in the sciences, first of all, although when he was younger, he was kind of like a teen heartthrob for a hard second. But that gave him these awful, I mean, really like PTSD and trauma from having to be like in front of the camera and the limelight when he didn't want to be. And then he also, has trouble being with a lot of people at once. And I was like, this is great. I love seeing this. And there's a scene between him and Adam where Adam's always telling him like, oh my God, you're so beautiful, or you're hot. And he doesn't like being, like even complimented about his physical beauty. And I thought that was really interesting. I don't know if I've actually ever seen a conversation like that in a romance novel. Like, not whether it's a man or a woman, like it's just somebody saying like, look, even if you love the way I look, I don't really feel comfortable like talking about it. Like I just have these insecurities. It's not you. I love that you love the way I look, but I don't want that to be the thing that we like talk about. And Adam respected that 100%. And I adored it too.
I know. And I love that he respected that boundary. And there's a moment where he says, you're so hot, after they've had this conversation. And Adam immediately is like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that. I know you don't like when I comment on your looks. And it's just, I really appreciated that their communication and their relationship as it grew was really amazing to see, because you kind of see Wes come out of his shell and you see Adam open his heart, which had been closed off. And it's kind of like a hard fought process, because they'll have these great moments together and then you see them go back to their houses. They'll both retreat and kind of process what's been happening to them, because they're both feeling so much. And I love that they are able to really share with each other how they're feeling. And even at the end, when Wes really messes up and does not communicate his feelings effectively, after he retreats back and kind of thinks about it, he realizes what he did. He makes up for it. And I mean, that's all we can do, right? That's all we can do, is try our hardest and then try and come back stronger when we mess up. And so it was really great to see both of them have moments of that.
I liked that too. And I think there's, what I like too is that where it ends, they clearly still have like rough stuff going on in their lives. Like for Adam and Gus, it's still fairly recent when they lost another person that was part of their lives. Like for Gus, it was a dad, and for Adam, it was his husband, and he's not really part of their lives anymore. And we don't really get any closure with him. That's really just like, it is like he's not there anymore and he doesn't want to be there. And then for Wes, he, from his observations of the relationship between Gus and Adam and seeing what a great dad Adam is, he basically finally gets the courage to call up his dad on his birthday, no less, and be like, happy birthday. By the way, you were a shitty father that did not respect me. Merry Christmas. And I loved that phone call. I loved it because I was like, look, was it the right time to do it? I don't know, but it was the right time for him because he finally had the push to do it after like seeing somebody he loved be an amazing dad and kind of becoming a dad himself with Gus. And I loved that. I was like, there's not like a happy family moment where his dad is like, you're right, I was terrible, I'll do better now, son, because that doesn't always happen. And
that's not real life all the time. Yeah.
No. And the holidays, I think, are especially difficult for families. Like, I know they bring a lot of families together, but the holidays can also be rough for people who then are kind of like feeling like they need to force themselves to be with their families or have to see parts of their family they would rather not see, or they don't have a family to share the holidays with. And so I think we forget about how much like loneliness also comes around with the holiday season. And so it was a nice kind of reminder that not everybody is decorating gingerbread cookies like 24/7 in the month of December.
100%. I could not agree more. I love that there was the family issues were not tied up with a nice, neat bow for both Adam and Wes.
Yeah.
And I kept waiting because I feel like we're kind of programmed to think like this. I kept waiting for either Marcus to come back and want to be in Gus's life.
Yeah.
Or for Wes to have that phone call with his family where his father apologizes and all is forgotten. And I love that those things didn't happen and that they both had really tough pasts and traumas that they are still working to get over. But they did not let that stop them from creating the family that they want and having the Christmas that they deserve. And I think that is such a wonderful message, right? That like, no matter what you came from, you have the power to make different choices for yourself and to still have a Merry Christmas. Like, even if your Christmas doesn't look like the family in matching pajamas and everyone loves each other, even if your Christmas doesn't look like that, it can still be happy and perfect for you. It can still be with your boyfriend who has pet raccoons and your daughter that he sleeps with and your daughter who loves to hold tarantulas. Like that, you know, that
Love
can
it.
be amazing too.
Love it. Yes. The fact that Wes and Gus bond over like loving the creepy, crawly, you know, snakes and spiders. But even that's another example of a great discussion that they have that you're like, oh my God, this is a metaphor for so much more because
100%.
Wes tells her and Adam, like, well, the only reason people are scared of spiders and snakes is because that's the way that we like are trained to believe them. Like, is there a reason we love cats and dogs so much more than lizards and spiders? Or is that just like kind of what we're fed? And like, this is a pet. It's cute. It's cuddly, but a lizard can't be? Like, why not?
Right. I mean, and that really hit me when he was saying, he was like, why is a gerbil cute and that's an acceptable pet, but a rat isn't? Aren't they very similar? And it's
a wolf
so
versus
true.
a dog. That was another one where like a wolf, you would run, it will kill you, but a dog is okay. Like they're part of the same family.
I love those conversations. And I was on the fence when the creepy crawlers emerged. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. Like, this is not this is a lot of reptiles. The raccoons really got me. Like, I was not sure. But I felt kind of like Adam in that moment where I just didn't get it. But then when you
Yeah.
hear Wes explain why he
Mm-hmm.
loves these animals, why he wants to care for them, why he looks
Mm-hmm.
at them differently, it makes sense and you really do come around to it.
Well, and honestly, to me, I'm like, it's one big analogy for like the LGBTQ community in general,
Right.
or any community that's ever been treated as the quote unquote othered. That it's like
Mhm.
we're the same. We're the same. Like there's maybe a different face, a different label, but like we're the same. Like what's different about us?
Right.
Like we're both animals. We're both humans. Like it's kind of just it's the social, emphasis that we put on it as opposed to like the actual or scientific label. So
Right.
yeah, I love how usually scientists can kind of boil things down very
Mhm.
easily in their reasoning to the point where you're like, well, you can't argue with that. Like
Exactly.
that's how it is.
Exactly. You're like, "Okay, yes, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Got it."
exactly. Now, I will say, when we give our ratings for this book, two of the things we rate for are the heat. And
Mhm.
as an added bonus, when it comes to the holidays, I rate for holiday. And I think this is one of those things, this is one of those books where if you want a winter read and you want maybe like a little bit of holiday, but it's not like so heavy on the holidayness, I think this book would be good for you. I
Yep.
think aside from like the lights that they're continually adding to the house and just sort of like the idea of like family being together, there's really not a ton that's super holiday focused. So I think that'll be a very positive thing for some people and then just sort of like a whatever thing for other people. And then when it comes to the heat, and as we go into our sexcerpt portion of the episode, I will say it's a little light on the heat level. You do get, I think, one scene that's like fairly explicit, and then the other ones are a little bit more
Mhm.
closed door, like open door adjacent with the chain on the lock. You can
Right.
just peek in. It's not wide open. It's just like a peek.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you have a particular steamy moment that you wanted to either read or discuss from the book?
There was something that Adam said that I was like, yeah, man. Here we go. I found it. Okay, so I believe this is their first interlude. They do not have sex in this scene, I don't
Mhm.
think, but they come close. They're both having a really good time.
They're interrupted by the child.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. But what I love about this scene is that Adam kind of vocalizes what he wants from Wes,
Mm,
which I really appreciated.
love it.
Really appreciated. So this is pretty early in the book. This is probably about a quarter of the way through. Wes leaned close and spoke in his ear. His voice was a velvet growl. Tell me what you want. Adam whimpered, shook his head. The words wouldn't come. Adam, tell me. And Adam says, I want you to have me completely. Take me apart. With the
Mm.
words came the liquid fire of want. Wes groaned and his hand tightened around the nape of Adam's neck. Yeah? Kinda take charge? Yes, Adam moaned. In charge, but not mean. Adam was dizzy with the potency of this understanding. That was exactly what he wanted, exactly what he needed. When he said take me apart, I was like, oh, yes, yes,
Well,
yes.
and there is nothing sexier than somebody telling you to tell them what you want. Like,
I mean,
because they're, I don't know, considering your needs and desires, like, oh.
especially because Wes has been throughout the book at this point, especially quite silent. And so for him to be this kind of communicative and very much like tell me what you want, tell me
Yeah.
what you need in this context, it just is so, isn't it so much hotter when it's like the silent person is suddenly like
Yes.
tell me what you want, like
Yep.
let's talk, you know? It's
Love
just
it.
it's hot.
Well, I'm glad you picked that scene because I picked the scene that's about halfway through. And this is like the very open door sex scene that we get between the two of them. And as an added bonus, there's a toy. I love a toy.
Is there ever? Is there ever?
Oh, I love a good toy in a romance. And you know what? I don't get to see enough toys in romance in general, but especially being used between two male partners in romance. So I'm excited. So let me give you a little snippet from here. Adam gets very chatty in this scene, but it's mostly just to repeat, how good it is over and over again. So we'll start with Wes slid the vibrating toy onto his fingers and flicked the tiny button to turn on the vibrations. Adam's eyes got wide. Then one corner of his mouth lifted in a lusty smile, and he nodded. God, he was perfect. Wes slid the vibrating toy over the tip of Adam's erection and felt every muscle in his body clench. Adam swore and panted, and Wes felt peace descend over him that he usually only felt in the lab. But here, all he wanted was to make Adam feel better than he had ever felt in his life. Yeah, it's, God, really, really great, really sexy, really loving. I am very excited to hear what your ratings are for this one, because I feel like this ticks a lot of boxes for me in general. So like I said, for our Boobsmas reads, we've added an extra rating. So we will be grading for heart, humor, and heat, and holiday on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the very best that it could be for you, of course. And we will start with heart. What do you think?
Oh my gosh, this had so much heart.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 for heart. I mean, come on. It's just bursting with heart.
It's for me, it's like almost all heart. Like I think whether it's hot enough for you or not, whether there's enough holidays for you or not, it's not super funny, but there's definitely like silly, fun moments, but it is all heart for sure.
Heart.
How about humor?
It's kind of middle of the road humor wise to me. I'd probably give it probably a 6 or 7 for humor, maybe a 6. I mean, a lot of the humor comes from Gus and Adam's reaction to the creepy crawlies. But it kind of packs a more dramatic emotional punch than hitting your funny bone, shall we say.
Yeah. I agree. I think for me, it would be maybe like a 6, 6.5. There were definitely moments I found, myself kind of giggle at, and you're right. It's a lot of what's going on with Gus. But usually those moments would then turn into like one of the deeper meaning conversations that it's not just about, telling all the kids Santa isn't real. It's about not shoving your beliefs down their throats. I'm like, oh, this just got really real fast. So, not the funniest, but definitely had a lot of fun, cute moments.
For sure.
Now, how about the heat?
For heat, I will go like 4. There's that, we get 2 kind of hot scenes.
Yeah.
But for me, I could always use more heat.
I'm with you. I'm absolutely with you. In terms of being consistent for this podcast, I normally tell everybody that if there is an open door on the page sex scene, it's at least a 5 for me. So keeping with that, I think for me it would be a 6. I think it's they bring out a toy.
This is true.
There's a little bit of variety. I like that. So I think I'd bump it up to a 6 on that
You know
scale.
what? I might give it a 5 then, because the toy did spice things up.
Toys make all the difference.
Yep.
Nothing like a holiday toy. All right. And then how about our holiday rating? What do we think?
The lights are the big draw.
Yeah.
For the holiday. And I'd really kind of put this middle of the road as far as holiday cheer goes. Which isn't to say that I didn't love it, because I did. I would probably give it like a 6 for holiday because we didn't have a lot of those. We didn't have like a big Christmas. We had a Christmas morning scene, but it wasn't, we didn't get the full Christmas experience. We got
Right.
kind of the lead up, but we didn't get the full experience.
Yeah, I'm with you. I only gave it a 5. So, I mean, and that's, again, not to say that I didn't enjoy this book, because I did. And I think parts of it touch on a lot of very real ideas that surround the holiday season in general. Those emotions, that feeling of loneliness, of finding your family, even if it's not your blood related family. Like, I love that. But in terms of telling people if they should pick up a book that's going to give them all the holiday feels and make them want to go, watch Hallmark movies and bake cookies, I don't know if this is that specific book. You will realize that it is a holiday book, but basically the only thing that makes you have that feeling are the lights. Because if you took the lights out, I don't think I would think of this as a holiday book, like without the lights on the house.
Yeah, that entire endeavor to kind of light up the house is basically the whole centerpiece for the Christmassy aspect of the book, and it's great and it's very fun, but it ends up not being as prominent as you would think because there's other stuff going on.
I did enjoy it though, because I think if I read one more book that's about like a baking competition at the holidays, I might never eat a cookie again.
I know. I did think when I was reading the book, I was like, okay, this is a much more unique way to incorporate the holidays into a romance. It's not, like you said, it's not a gingerbread house competition. It's not a Christmas festival that we have to put on. It's not like a choir concert.
No Mariah Carey.
No Mimi.
Yeah, no, Roan's actually, like, I feel like taking her own advice from the book and like not shoving it down your throats. Like, it's like, we're not forcing you into a Christmas story. Like, that's not what this is. This is very much like about the holidays and like the family, feels that come with it, which is nice. It's refreshing. It is refreshing. It's just not the most, I mean, we got Santa Erotica coming up later on the podcast. So there's just, comparatively speaking, it's not in the same ballpark.
Not even close.
Not even close. Both great, but different.
But different. Yes. Different ends of the holiday spectrum for sure.
Oh gosh. Well, Dory, as we wrap up, where can everybody find and follow you and keep up with the podcasts, plural?
Please follow me at All the Feels Pod on Twitter. There you will find our bracket.
Yes.
Download it, play with us, enjoy. And I'm always there, always chatting away. So come follow us. Let's be friends. And I also will post about Y'all This Book on All the Feels too. But you can also follow Y'all This Book at Y'all This Book.
Y'all This Book.
Y'all This Book.
The amount of times I started a sentence with that phrase,
right?
Yeah.
We all have.
Thank you so much for joining me. And everybody, I hope, checks out All the Feels, downloads their brackets. And of course, join us back here on the podcast for more 12 Days of Boobsmas, because the festive fun will continue throughout the month, all leading up to Christmas. But Dory, thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
Thank you for having me. This is so much fun.
Yay.
And I hope I can come back at some point.
Oh, absolutely. There will always be more romance to discuss.
Yes, that's why we love it.
Now, without further delay and in keeping with tradition, I give you the 12 Days of Boobsmas, composed by former guest of the pod, the incomparable Cooper Baldwin, and it all begins today. On the first day of Boobsmas, my lover gave to me a hot hookup underneath the tree. Merry Boobsmas to all.
On the first day of Boobsmas, my lover gave to me a hot hookup underneath the tree.
Thanks so much for listening. Boobies and Newbies is part of the Frolic Podcast Network. Find more podcasts you'll love at frolic.media/podcasts.